Time for some top 5 action. Today's list is sports sounds, Sam. Ooh. Now let's explain this. Now these are obviously sounds from sports, right? That's a broad term.
Yeah, but
right?
It's one of those, like, I don't know if nostalgic is the right word, but one of those things you hear it and maybe you get the goosebumps. It reminds you of that day out of the ballpark or in the stadium, or flashbacks to that one game where you remember this vividly.
Right. Or I was thinking, like, every time you kind of hear this sports sound, it's, there's like a feeling inside of you. Like a, whoa, I love that sound. Like, oh, that's nice. Like, yes. That's why I love sports. Kind of
satisfying.
Yes. I absolutely think so. And I'm looking forward to hearing this. Now, we've actually tried to go through so we wouldn't have the same, because let's face it, there are a lot of iconic sports sounds that are going to draw us all together, right? When we're going to, there are sounds in sports that are universally accepted as amazing, right?
Right, 100%. And we want to do our best to let you see as many of them
or hear
as many of them as we possibly can. So
absolutely. And so again, top 5 today, top 5 sports sounds. Who's going to go first today?
You want to lead it off?
Sure, I can do that. Of course, let's do this properly, right?
Number 5.
My number 5 favorite sports sound is, and it is simple. You probably hear it, I don't know, hundreds of times during the event. But I think, and again, I only played to high school, but the truth is there is nothing better than either hearing it when you're on the field, hearing it when you're up in the stands, or if you're watching on TV, the sound of hitting when you play football. Right? Pads helmets.
Oh, and see, that's the reaction you have. It's the
yes, elbows, helmets, shoulder pads, knee pads, the collision. I don't know what football's going to look like in a few years, and I'm one of those old curmudgeons who are like, it'll be 2-hand tag by the time they're done with this. I hope not, because that's one of the brilliant parts of football is the collision and the sounds of those collisions.
So, not to make you nervous, but over the weekend, I actually watched some of the American Flag Football League. That is a real thing that ESPN televises. Mike Vick was playing in it. That's what caught my interest. He was quarterbacking. It wasn't bad, don't get me wrong, for football in July.
Yeah,
you'll take it. It served my purpose. But if ever that becomes what I'm getting on Sundays, and I'm getting away from that specific sound that you just played, it's going to be a sad day.
Yeah, I love that sound.
Well, my number 5 sports sound, and I went back and forth on this. Basketball provides us with a lot of sounds, whether it's the squeaking of the sneakers on the court, the dribble of the ball, whatever it is. The sound from basketball that I think grabs me more than anything. You can't even find this in an arena. You've got to go out to the blacktop, and somewhere on a blacktop near you, this is what you will hear.
Oh.
It is not just the swish. It is the swish of a chain net. The steel chain net, to me, has always been one of the greatest sounds ever. The cleanest, crispest sound. One of the most dangerous things in sports, I think, if you stop and think about having a chain net that you can reach up and grab and potentially amputate a few fingers in the process.
Yes.
But I love the sound of the chain net.
I don't even know if you can still buy those today. I don't know, but yeah, I love that sound too. I mean, the basketball swish sound is one of the most iconic sounds in all sports, but that is a unique sound that definitely kind of beckons your inner child, right? That reminds me of, as you're talking about, blacktop basketball. So, man. Taking me back. All right, moving on with the countdown. to number 4.
Number 4.
My number 4 favorite sports sound, and maybe you think it's dumb. I don't care because this is my list. You hear this in baseball games. You hear it some in the NBA, some in the NHL as well. But I have a huge appreciation for it. Everything now too is very like, scoreboard, the big screens, the speaker sound. They're pumping a lot of audio, just like you would at a dance club.
Right.
But there's nothing to me iconic like a ballpark organ.
Ooh.
Right? I mean, that's old school. Before and I know it sounds like the old guy. And some of these, again, I'm sure you heard it at baseball games when you went on the trip.
Yeah. Well, as actually, it's surprising that you say that. It doesn't seem like all the stadiums necessarily utilize the organ like they used to. Fenway was real big on it, but like Yankee Stadium has a DJ. I know I went to a Wood Ducks game a month or two ago, and that was the number one thing I noticed about 2 or 3 innings in is there's no organ music out here. You have to have the organ music. It's iconic.
Yes, I love it. And as I said, in the NBA, defense, charge. Yeah. It's good stuff. So, yeah, ballpark organs, one of my favorite sports sounds. Number 4 sports sound.
Number 4 sports sound. My number 4 sports sound is... I'm going to include these people into the realm of sports because they are. Oftentimes when you think about sports sounds, the last place you go is to a boat. The last place you go is to the open waters. But fishermen are sportsmen at the end of the day, guys. Accept it, believe it. And anybody who has spent some time...
One of my favorite sports.
Absolutely. Anytime sitting in a boat, anytime sitting around, you know how it is. It's peaceful. It's quiet. That's what we love about fishing, the opportunity to escape into nature just a little bit and enjoy the silence. It gets better when the silence is broken with this particular sound. You're sitting there. You're waiting. Where's the fish? Are the fish going to come? Am I going to sit here in silence all day?
Wait a minute.
And then you know it hit.
Wait a minute. I think I got something. That is a great thing.
I love the scream of the fishing rod.
Nice.
Will always be one of my favorite sounds because you don't talk about excitement. There's nothing more exciting in sports than the time fighting the fish. The waiting, the leading up to it might be a little boring sometimes.
If it's been busy and hectic, you appreciate the quiet in between. I'll be quite honest with you.
Nothing worse than hearing like 6 or 7 of those sounds go off at once because then you're just going to have a tangled mess on your hands.
Oh, man. Number 3 favorite sports sound, and I think this is probably universal, and I'm sorry if this offends people that can't be, I guess, proud, because I am. But for one, when you hear this song, I get a little choked up. I heard this song a bazillion times, but there's something magical. It also lets you know that the game is about to start. The national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. One of my favorite sports sounds. The feeling of, you're going to, the game's about to start. Everybody stands up. It's so loud in there, even just the chatter before people start even cheering. And it gets nice and quiet right before the national anthem starts. So I picked Whitney Houston's Super Bowl as my example. I didn't know the video was this long, and but there's that sound, the feeling when I'm there
build
too.
Up to it.
You're just like a little choked up. You're like, yes.
Oh yeah, you get a little goose. Look, I've got goosebumps sitting here right now just hearing this. But for the national anthem, for me, it's the "Ladies and Gentlemen." That part right there, where the PA announcer
please
comes
rise
in.
for our national anthem,
and then you get the slow drum roll leading in. Oh, say
yes. So. And as I said, that's almost every sporting event where you get the national anthem, because we are Americans, and I love the national.
And stand up for it, damn it.
Go ahead. You're number 3.
My number 3 is something that also occurs in a very quiet sport. The game of golf can be very quiet until it's not. You will most often find this sound on the tee box, hanging out with the likes of Dustin Johnson, Tiger Woods, Jordan Spieth, some of these guys that can just really crank the long ball there. Yes, Dustin Johnson.
Not
But
that sound.
of
Not
course,
that sound.
nothing sounds better than crushing a golf ball off the tee. Woo!
Oh, man.
Look at that beaut.
He got all of that one.
Boy.
Get in the hole. I was like that guy.
I love that sound, too.
I love that sound. I love the get in the hole guy when it's like a par 5. You know, like a 600-yard par 5, and you hear
Yeah.
someone yell, "Get in the hole."
Like, that's going to happen.
Number 2.
My number 2 favorite sports sound, and this really beckons from, sadly, my youth athletic days. But it is, I'm going to have to play it. Maybe everybody remembers this, this Under Armour commercial from a few years ago.
Before you step on the field, click, clack.
Do you remember this commercial? Now I'm waiting for the actual click-clack sound. It's the click-clack sound of cleats. When
Walking
you-
down the tunnel.
Walking down the tunnel. That is one of my favorite sounds. In fact, number 2 favorite sound in sports. Because as a participant, that click clack you heard, this commercial's terrible. I picked the worst sound for
Did you
click
clear
clack.
your sound before we did this?
I did not. I was trying to hide it from you. Click clack. Certainly, there's a click clack. No, I'm not seeing anything. But you've heard the sound. Maybe I could. It's a great sound, and it, like I said, it reminds me of when I played. That was the sound right before you were about to take the field.
Yeah.
That was, and it was, even on 20 player, 25 player teams, that sound is so loud and resounding, and I guess I can still can hear the track around West Craven when you're walking around. Did you find it? There you go.
A little bit of your click clack there.
Yes, I do love the click clack.
That's one of those feelings or one of those sounds that is a little bit more in the nostalgia variety for me, because I think for you, when you hear that sound, you flash back to your playing days, and you're walking out with the brotherhood coming out of the tunnel.
Yes.
You're ready for war.
Maybe coach will let me play today. Yes, absolutely.
I see. This is one of those sounds. Everybody loves it. Everybody knows it. And the only reason it's on this list is because I felt like we would have been doing the world a disservice if we did not mention this sound. This particular sound is courtesy of Cody Bellinger of the LA Dodgers. I think you'll recognize it.
This ball is crushed.
I love it.
One more time.
This ball is crushed.
Just an absolute cannon shot from Cody Bellinger. But the crack of the bat, I think,
Yes.
I mean, the idea that we don't even include that as number 1 seems
There's something
criminal.
wrong,
Yeah,
right?
it seems
Right.
like blasphemous. But where I'm going with my number 1, I think it's going to be a little bit better. But there is nothing better than the crack of the bat. And what's even better than, I think, the crack of the bat is if you are at the game and you were at the stadium, because I experienced this several times on my trip the other week. You hear that loud crack of the bat and you see that ball shoot up in the air, and the whole entire stadium gets on their feet. Ah, home run! And then it drops like 15 feet in front of the wall, and it's it's the premature home run celebration that is
Yeah.
often accompanied with the crack of the bat that I think goes a long
The
way.
crack, and I know college baseball is never going to do it, but I'm telling you, I know that's one of those things that if you're a diehard college baseball fan, they'll stop complaining. It's just cost effective, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, there's something wrong with the sound of an aluminum bat.
When it's getting
Okay.
hit that hard, especially.
Yes. So, you've waited for it. Time to announce who's number 1.
You're number one. You're number one. You're number one.
You're number one.
You're number one.
I think you probably knew. See, again, remember these are personal lists. I think your crack of the bat, if we were going to do a ranking, that's probably number one.
Yes, correct.
But for my personal list, my number one is the sound of a race car. And specifically, there's nothing like, and I've been fortunate enough to be in pit road, standing right beside the car when it cranks. That is the way everybody should experience racing, to me.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're a big fan of it. I'm going to go a little nostalgic here. This was 1990. This is the Turbo Penske PC19. So they're actually going to start the engine here. But I love the start. And again, I love all racing sounds. I could play a million of them. There's nothing like that feeling, too. They do the speed shot on TV. And it feels the same way if you're just standing there right at the wall.
Yeah, where
That's
they have a
great
camera
sound.
placed against the wall, essentially.
Yes,
yeah.
to kind of give you the sense of, like, these guys are really hauling the mail here. And but the sound I'm going to choose is the start of this Penske PC19, which, like I said, this thing, when they start it, it tears your guts up. You go, oh, my God. Dude, I'm covered in goosebumps here. Covered in goosebumps. And he just drove 10 feet. He just pulled it ahead a little bit. I love
insane.
the sound.
Pure power.
Dude, it's insane. Like,
awesome.
completely in chills just listening to that. Fantastic stuff.
My number one sports sound, you can catch it on your TV sets every single Sunday morning. Now, if you haven't caught the fever, the best way to go about watching NFL on a Sunday is the NFL Red Zone package brought to you by the NFL Network. And if you can't shell out the money for it, there are numerous ways to find it online without paying for
$50,
it.
man.
Nah, it's like $8.99 a month, which turns out to be about $50.
It's about
probably.
50. That's all I'm saying. It's about $50.
Right.
It's fantastic. I too will try to be salesman spokesperson for. If you're an NFL fan and you don't have Red Zone, I am so sorry. You're not experiencing
Right.
football on a Sunday afternoon the way you're supposed to.
You are not watching it the right way. And there's two different channels. You have DirecTV, you get stuck with that Andrew Siciliano guy, and he's a clown.
Turn the channel.
Yeah, big time Dumbo ears, like Andrew Siciliano, total clown. The consummate pro.
He's a great guy, actually. He's fantastic.
No, you're not, Andrew. But Scott Hansen is the consummate professional. He is the king of the NFL Red Zone channel. And they have a countdown clock. They go in, they do a brief little intro. Scott Hansen sets up the game. And then moments.
I want to ask you, do you tune in? Are you watching the clock too, counting? Because they're playing like NFL Films music, and I'm already like turning up the surround sound.
100%.
Okay.
And I can even do a little bit of both for you if you want. If you want some of the countdown clock. So it starts. So just to give you a feel of what it is, this is the countdown clock for Red Zone, and it starts at 5 minutes before they go on the air. So about 12:50, you can tune in. You'll start hearing this music. They're counting it down, and it's all well and good. But it all leads up to the final moments where Scott Hansen finishes breaking down what's on the schedule today. The first kickoff is just about to begin.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, looks like that's where we will have the first kickoff of the afternoon. Chris Boswell has teed it up and will boot it away as 7 hours of commercial-free football start now.
Nice.
7 hours of commercial-free football starts now. Scott leads me into my Sunday afternoon of doing nothing every single week with that line.
Scott Hansen, I love that guy. Quad box. I mean, you're right. He has this.
I hate the quad box.
He usually has this great preamble. So the music starts and he's like, Scott Hansen, and he's like, 7 1 o'clock matchups. He's got this great preamble before he does the 7 hours of football, and he's like, a rematch of last year's Central Division Championship.
Yes, exactly.
2 former Florida Gator quarterbacks will square off. You know, and then he's like, And then they go, and right now we're going to go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where the Packers will have first shot against their division rivals, and 7 hours of football.
Commercial-free football.
Commercial-free football.
That's the important part.
Start right now.
Commercial-free
Yes.
football.
And he reminds you, as you're watching games and they go to commercial, he goes, oh, they do commercials. We don't do commercials here.
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV when they slip up and you get like 5 seconds of a commercial? Like, I'm ready to send in a refund. Like, hey, you guys owe me because I watched 5 seconds of a Geico ad.
That's right. That Cialis commercial peeked in. I saw 2 bathtubs, and I was not supposed to see it. So that's our top 5. Of course, you can make your own top 5 on your own time. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back. More of East Carolina Sports Show on your ride home.